Hello guys and welcome back to TrackMind TV. This is your favorite show, the Power Up Show. Of course with your favorite host, Jayden Steve. Today is an amazing day and we have a very interesting guest, Apostle Derrick Adamba. Thank you so much for making time to join us. And he will be sharing his testimony with us. So we have so much lined up for you. If this is your first time, click on that subscribe button and also engage with us in the comment section, and we'll be so glad to hear from you. Karibu sana. So nice to have you. Would you look at that camera and introduce yourself to our audiences?
Okay, thank you. So my name is Derrick, born again, 26 years age, and the founder of Heavenly Culture Church. It's a new ministry we just began in March, and we're trusting God for great things ahead of us. Apart from that, I'm also into humanitarian services. So we usually also go to children homes and we take donations. We preach the gospel to them. We spend time with them, and that's a blessing that we believe it's only by God's grace. And that's just all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Of course, you are a friend, and we shared some classes in college. It's so nice to see what God is doing in your life. And would you just take us back to where you were born and brought up?
Okay, amazing. So I was actually we had a very humble beginning. I think I was actually born in Huruma Estate, and that's where I began. I grew up from, but it wasn't for that long. We moved out. We went to a different place in Harmony. It's a place called Harmony, and then we moved to Umoja. Now in Umoja, I think that's where like my whole life has just been conditioned. I've been brought up majorly in Umoja, and that's where like I can literally have a testimony like of what was happening in my life, because back then anyways I was still a child. So in Umoja is where I've actually been brought up in. And we just had like a normal childhood, just like being brought up in such a place is not as much as a person who's maybe coming out. It was not like the ghetto is still almost the ghetto, you see, like. But I thank God I had a few things that actually I got to like grasp from there. Just meeting different children's from all these places, all these homes, and getting to encounter their mindset, their way of living, and that really contributed a lot to where I am. Yeah.
Were you brought up in church?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that much. My mother used to go to church. There was this church called Deliverance Church in Umoja, headed by Bishop Masinde. But I remember when we would go to church, it was more of just going to, just having fun. And I never understood church. I never understood anything. So the money I would be given was just for going to eat. The offering money, yeah, I would eat it.
Tell us a bit about your transitioning from childhood to teenagehood, because I know there's a lot that happened to you. We would love to hear more about that.
Okay.
Yeah, where did the ball roll?
Okay. So I think where I actually began to see changes in my life is in high school. In primary school, I wasn't that much like, I don't know how to explain it, but my life is just more of, I usually don't like have images of certain parts of my life. It's almost like they're erased. And I think it's just more because I don't give consideration into them. So let's say like, especially like primary school, when I was still in primary school, I was that kind of a person who was stubborn. I would disturb my mothers a lot. I remember there was a time that I was supposed to go to school, but I would just take my clothes instead of packing books on my bag. I would pack clothes, and I'll just leave the house as if I'm going to school. But I got outside, went to a place, I changed, and I put on home clothes, and that's just how like school was. I never went to school. I would just be dodging school. And so I think I was just a bit mischievous. And then my mom was like, I can't continue like that. So she took me to a boarding school. That's in class 7 to class 8 over there. And I think this was also like really, it was really like different for me. I'd never been to a boarding school. I'm coming to a boarding school. I'm meeting all these people, meeting a new kind of living, and just learning how to now be like a man, you understand? So just like learn how to take care of yourself. And by then I really thought I was big, only to realize that I was actually really small. I don't know, in my mind I was just like, I'm really big, but I was really small. And it was just crazy getting to have such kind of a mindset, and I would like demand, you know, like for respect from, you know, people. There was just that kind of a culture, because it was in a school in the countryside. And I looked more like, you know, you're coming from Nairobi, these people are in the countryside, so there was just that different kind of an atmosphere. And we would literally start just proving ourselves, and you would just be like trying to show yourself like, this is who I am. But I was good at coping and just knitting myself with the environment. And that was just about like primary school. I wasn't that really bad. Yeah. I was just a good boy, but bad. And when I shifted to high school was just normal. And I think all my life I've always been having favor, and I would usually just have favors, and my life was just like that until I got to Form 4. That's when the crazy things began.
What happened in Form 4?
So now in Form 4, I remember I was just moving into a new school, because the previous school I was in, they were not teaching arts. And I didn't like that school, so I used it as an opportunity for me to come out of that school. So I came out of that school. I went to a different school in Nairobi, and in this school it was a mixed school. And I had the desk mate, and this desk mate, she introduced me to weed. And this is the first time I was coming into contact with weed, because I would just like be seeing, you know, music videos, and I'm seeing people smoking, and I never understood what they were smoking. And so this girl tells me that she's able to bring me like something, and something to just like get me high. Yeah.
Delilah's.
Yeah. That other gender, yeah. So she introduced me to weed. I sent her for weed. She brought me my first stash. Went home, I smoked it. I didn't even know how to smoke weed at the first time. So
did you cook it?
I smoked. Okay. She gave me instructions how to smoke it, so I did. But I didn't smoke it well, so I went back to her. I told her, yeah, I smoked, but I didn't feel that much. So she's like, I'll get you another one. So that's just how it began. I finished school. And that happened. I found other people who were also smoking weed. Now they're professionals. And I was introduced to some serious weed, like it was serious, like high grade, you know, like they differ according to their strains. And so that's when I became a heavy stoner.
Maybe what else did you interact with apart from weed?
Well, apart from weed, by then I wasn't into many things, I think. I was just like more of a stubborn person. And I was never into women and stuff. I just had a girlfriend, I remember in high school, when I was about just to finish. And she was really faithful, but she was really like, you know, like there, clingy and stuff. And I thought it was a good thing until I met a certain friend of mine, and she was like, he was like, why are you being so faithful, you know? Why are you being so faithful? Like, why are you acting like that? You don't have to be faithful to one girl. So I think that one friend really corrupted me. And from that moment on, I felt like it was stupid to not be a player. Yeah. So I began playing her. I began playing girls. I think that from that day on, ever since he put that mentality in me. I was never a faithful person. I could never like just be faithful to a girl.
To date.
Of course not now.
Okay, that's a joke aside. Wow, apart from smoking weed, there's no other drug that you actually used?
Well, that advanced with time.
Okay.
That was still back then, but with time, as I continued with just doing drugs, I came across cigarettes. The guy that introduced me to like serious weed, like that high grade, he also taught me about smoking cigarettes. And he would tell me how if you would smoke weed and then add a cigarette on it, it would just really blow up.
Yeah.
And so we did that. We began doing that at first. It was choking me, but with time, I began smoking cigarettes. Little did I know, I was just getting addicted. So I came to the point where I was addicted to cigarettes. And I was doing a lot of weed, and the weed that I was doing was not even enough. Because I was so used to it. Like, we'd literally spend a lot of money on weed. A lot of money, not just like thousands, but thousands on just smoking weed. And we got to the place where me and my friends, we were no longer it didn't do as much, so we needed something else extra to just take us to that place, you know.
What was that?
Well, it was we used to call it, it's just like a low concentrate of heroin. It's called opium. So you would just lace it on the weed. And when you lace it on the weed, you just get high, man. Like,
I can see the excitement in your face.
Yeah. So it really kills you. It would just like take you to another kind of plane. And you just begin hallucinating and stuff. There was this day I was just literally so high. I think I almost saw things in the spirit. I don't know. Because you can literally just get high until you start seeing your own things. And but we just did that. It was like a normal thing we used to do. And we would look like, what's the new drug in town? Like, what's the new drug trending at the moment? And whatsoever we would see, we would just begin to like, order for it. If it's pills, we would take pills. We would snort. If it's codeine, there's a it's called lean. You just mix codeine and some stuffs, and I don't want to give out the ingredients, but but we would just do all that kind of stuff. The drink itself is called lean, and we would do that. We would just do like anything. I was just open to anything. I think I was never limited to anything. Yeah, I would do a lot.
What are these things that actually you could say that you did as the effect of maybe the drugs that you are taking? What are these things that you actually affected by your drinking, by your use of drugs? Yeah.
Okay, so I would say my mental state was not correct. I would perceive things differently. I just became aggressive. I became more depressed in life. You know, like when you're doing all these things, it's just fun at the moment, but after like it's gone, you literally find that life is not just okay. Like you literally realize I'm back to that normal plane, especially when you're getting high. And then you're done, like everything is over. Like for example, I also began doing alcohol. I was drinking. And you see, the thing is that I was never into drinking. But there was I got to a place where I was just drinking with it was like, it wasn't helpful to me, yes. And I would say I'm not gonna drink, but I would still find myself drinking. And I began losing things in my life because I would work and then take the money into drinking. I would even like just spend my money in, like such things, just ladies, drugs, and all this drinking. And I remember there was a time when I was working and my money, I wasn't capable of keeping tabs on where my money was going to. Because let's say, for example, there was a day I went and I bought shoes. And so I just bought shoes. I came back from the marketplace. I was headed back home and I was drunk. And by the time I got to where I was going to, I had lost one pair of shoes. And you see that's crazy, like you just bought shoes and you see, like you not even one pair. Actually I lost one shoe. And now you have one shoe and the other one is not there. I don't know how I dropped it. And I was just drunk. You know, I would begin losing things in my life and I was like, this is not making sense. I was too aggressive. My family, my friends, like there was no kind of any connection that I felt I had with them anymore. So I became more of a loner. I would spend more time with myself, and I think those were just like signs of depression that were kicking in.
Okay. Tattoos. Look at your hands. At what time did you get these tattoos?
Oh, well, I got them after high school. Started one after the other. They're usually like addictive. You just get one and feel like you can get the other. So without knowing it, I found myself having a lot of tattoos. I actually stopped when I got born again. I was planning to just do like a whole lot even on my neck. Like I was just doing it for fun.
You just have them in your hands?
Just like
everywhere.
Okay, I have some on my chest.
Okay.
Some on my legs.
Wow. It's really interesting. At what point did you get born again, and how did that come about?
So I believe the time had come when I was talking about depression kicking in, when I just felt like I was a loner, and nothing else was making sense to me, and I felt like I was searching for something that I never found it. There was just this sense of emptiness that was within me. I couldn't explain it at all, and all this time I was just searching for truth. I guess I was just searching for truth. Whenever I would like look into the world and I would not understand what I was seeing. I'm more of a person who analyzes things from like a different point of view. I don't just like analyze it from the normal place of logic or facts. I never look for facts, I never look for logic. I look for truth. And I was seeking for truth, which I never found it in logic and in facts. And this is what led me to a place where I was feeling like life is not making sense, and whatever I've been searching for, I'm not even like getting a hold of it. Because at one point of time I almost became a Muslim, but it just never like resonated with my spirit, and I was just like, no need for that. There was another time I almost became a Satanist, and I was
a Satanist.
Yeah, I almost became a Satanist. I was literally calling for Lucifer to come. So I'll just take time, research, and find ways to just like connect with the devil. And I found like a script on the internet. It just gives you like instructions on what to do, like how to like get him to come. And so I started like summoning him, but he never came. I would cry for him, like literally I would cry for him. I was just tired. I was just like, I just need you to come. Have you ever, you know, people usually like, I think God really loves me a lot because he kept him from coming. Because if he would have come, but I realized that actually he was actually coming. And there was a day before I got, because before I got born again, I believe one of the things that I was going through, some of the things that I came to realize afterwards was that there was a certain gig I had gotten, and there's this dude that wanted to sign me into, it's just a very famous company actually. It's very like, it's literally on the top chains here in Kenya. And he told me about the film industry, what they're doing and stuff, and the billboards and all these things. And so he approached me, he gave me his card, and he told me that he wanted me to model for them. And so I was like, okay, this is it, man, you know. I just knew like, hey, manzeni meomoka sasa. So he was giving me really good money, from 400 G's above. And later on, this guy, before he could get me that gig, he literally just wanted something else. I realized that he was actually gay, and he was into me, and so he wanted me. And that's the way that he wanted to get me rich. Because I would tell him that I'm also a rapper. I used to rap, but I used to sing. And so I would tell him that I want to do that.
You should give us a piece. Do you have any?
Those are they're in the archives. I have put them in the bin.
Okay.
And I've emptied the bin.
You've never like written a gospel rap.
I write nowadays.
Okay.
I write, but back then
Okay,
I was
okay.
just doing other things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this guy wanted me to give
Mm.
myself to him,
Mhm.
and that's when I knew that it was actually like a demonic deal,
Mm.
because that's how like they initiate you.
Okay.
So when I was still praying for the devil, that guy actually came. I was just too ignorant to realize it.
Okay.
I knew it later
You
on.
were ignorant to realize the devil had come.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think God was just blinding me.
Okay.
That's how I was saying He loves
Mm.
me. So
Okay.
that's what. With later on, I came to realize that what I was looking for, I didn't find it,
Okay.
and then I was depressed, feeling like life is not headed anywhere.
Mm.
I wanted to commit suicide, but I couldn't. I felt like if I committed suicide, every person that had looked down upon me, they would have found like a leverage for them to glory in my defeat.
Mm.
So I cancelled out suicide, and I was just depressed and not knowing where to go to. That's where I found Christ.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's someone who led you to Christ, or you led yourself to Christ?
I was actually led to Christ. I remember my mother really played a big role in me coming to
Yeah.
God.
Mm-hmm.
She led me to a pastor,
Mm.
and the pastor prayed for me. But then I was having dreadlocks, so I was just like, I had come to a place where I was tired. I'd done everything, I'd tried everything, and I was just like, I can't continue. So I was just yielded. And when I got to that place where I was like, now it's church, because when she proposed to me and she told me, I want you to go see the pastor, I was like, okay, no problem, we'll just go. We went there. I was prayed for. I mean, these are the processes. This is where transformation began to take place. The pastor began praying for me concerning the drugs that I was doing, because I was addicted by then. I had tried coming out of them, gone for counselings and whatnot, but nothing was happening. So this is my process of salvation. It began from that place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Derrick, now you've planted a church, and how long has it been since you got born again?
It's been like 3 to 4 years,
3 to 4.
almost 4 years right now.
4 years, almost 4 years. And after you got born again, you got into mentorship by a pastor.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was actually into mentorship.
Mhm.
When I got born again, a few months, I think a few weeks, I got filled with the Holy Spirit. And when I received the baptism of the Holy Spirit, the love of God just became so real to me.
Okay.
And His presence, because I never actually believed that He existed. I was into New Ageism. I was an atheist. And when I got born again and I experienced the power of God and His love for me, it totally transformed me. I began serving in church, and it's that period of time where I now say that I just want to like retreat and go and seek the face of God. So I left for Eldoret, and I didn't want any disturbance, and that's where I began my mentorship from, at a church called House of Grace, under Pastor Dixon Waime.
Okay. Okay, then you came to Nairobi and joined Karen Bible School for your theology. Did you finish?
I came to Bible school. I was there. Actually, I'd gone there for just the reason I actually went for Bible school is when I was in Eldoret, God actually, as I was seeking His face, I was in time of prayer, fasting, and all that, just mentorship. That's when God began speaking to me and telling me what He had called me for. And He revealed to me what my purpose is. And so He led me to come back to Nairobi and to serve under a ministry. It's called Siloam Christian Fellowship Church. And so I came back to Nairobi, but when I came back to Nairobi, I didn't want disturbance in my fellowship with God. And so I realized I needed a quiet place, and that's what led me to the Bible school. So I came, I found the Bible school. It was quiet, and I said, I'm going to come and seek God over here.
So you are not there for studies?
I was actually never there for studies.
You don't regard education?
I actually consider, and it's just that when I got there, that was not my motive, that was not my intention to go to Bible school.
Mm.
But when I got there, I learned a lot. It played a huge role to where I am right now.
Okay.
And I studied a lot. At least I can say I'm theological. I don't know.
Do you plan like to further it to a degree to continue the education?
Unless the Lord speaks, but
Now.
I'm not thinking of advancing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of advancing currently.
Okay. Talk to me about, look at your dress code. It seems I'm the pastor here. Of course, people out here will ask you, you pastor, you have tattoos. A pastor, you I have visited your church before, and I've seen you preaching the T-shirt with ragged and you know, sneakers and stuff. What did you respond to such a person wondering, hey, pasi, aje? Because the definition of a pastor is a very baggy trouser.
So that's more of religion. You see, Christianity, the way it is, I mean, there's just like a blood image of what it truly is. We had the people who came to introduce the gospel to us. They came with suits and stuffs. And so people picked up from them and they began wearing suits. And you see, in the Bible, there were no suits by then. Yeah. So there were no suits by then. Yet we see people embracing suits as a we are seeing people embrace suits as a mode of dressing. You know. Yeah.
Sorry.
Don't know what. Just a bit. So we see people embracing suits as a mode of dressing, which is not actually the case. You see, because people used to dress in robes and stuff. So if we are to say that there is a certain dressing for a pastor, then we miss out. Yet there is moderation, definitely. But what I would just say is that there is the fact of worshiping God in truth and in spirit. And God is not after your suit. God is not after your jeans and stuff. God is after the kind of worship that you're giving him.
Okay.
And you see, most of the times is that people say that you cannot say that, you know, like, you know, there's that issue, that argument that's usually in the church, that we see dressing, all that God looks at those things and stuff and whatnot, and that we ought to be different as the children of God or as the church. And we miss out on the reality that our difference is not in the outward man. Our difference is in the indwelling of the living one, the living God in us. That's what makes us different. Because you might put on a suit and not have God. You might also put on this and not have God. So what matters is God living in you. Are you worshiping in truth and in spirit? So when he is in you, then he begins to guide you, because you become like the wind. No one knows where you're coming from. No one knows where you're going to.
Wow. This has been so inspirational, guys. And I think this is very captivating just to listen to you. Your story is very inspirational. I want you to give us your final words, looking at that camera there. Just say something to the young people out there who are still struggling with some of the things that you really struggled with, are still struggling with their identity, to discover who they are. Just, in a nutshell, as we wrap it up.
Okay. So I would just say that, first of all, if you're looking for God, there is the factor of genuineness. When you want to find him that is true, you also have to be true to yourself. So there is a lot that is happening out there. There is a lot of pressures from the world, pressures also from your family. There is what I call the testimony of men, where people would expect you to be in a certain way, to carry yourself in a certain manner, to do things in a certain way, because they're after you satisfying the desires of their own hearts, but they're never after you satisfying the desires of God. So when you're following and you're having a desire to know God, it means that one thing that you must avoid is the testimony of men. That is the praises of men. There's another thing, which is the wisdom of the flesh, where your own wisdom begins to guide you. You become wise in your own eyes. You want to perceive God in your own understanding, in your own knowledge. And this is what sometimes begins to work against our salvation. So you just need to humble yourself, because for you to be led by the Spirit of God, you have to be in a place of humility. So you desire to grow, and you're having maybe certain struggles in your life. And for you to be able to overcome these things, the scriptures actually tell us it's never by strength, it's not by might, but it's by the Spirit of God. Yet in order for you to be able to access such grace that will enable you to overcome the challenges of life, you have to be in a place where you have humbled yourself, meaning you have to be like a child, so that the Spirit of God can lead you. And those that are led by the Spirit of God, these are the sons of God. And when you are in that place where you are a son, the scripture says that those that are born of him, they have overcome the world. So there is no struggle at all that can overcome you if you are born of him. In order to be born of him, you have to be in a place where you have submitted yourself to be led by his Spirit. And so that's how you overcome challenges. That's how you reign over the struggles of life. Temptations are not there to diminish you. In fact, the scripture says in the book of Corinthians that God will never allow anything to come to you which you are incapable of handling. And with every manner of temptation that comes, he will make a way of escape. And so that just tells us that indeed we are not limited by our weaknesses, and that with every temptation, it's a revelation that we have power over that temptation. That's the reason why it actually came in the first place, to prove you, to test you, whether you are genuine in your faith or not.
Wow.
And so you have to overcome that by the grace of God. I just want to give you all advice and to encourage you that as long as you are depending on him that called you, as long as you are keen and faithful to the voice that is above every other voice, it means that you have the ability and the grace to reign as a child of God and to be prosperous as a Christian.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's word right there. Guys, thank you so much for joining us and keeping it track mind. If this is your first time here, kindly don't leave without subscribing to our channel. Give this video a thumbs up and let us know how you found Derrick testimony. Of course, it will be an honor to have you again. It was nice having you. Thank you so much for making time to join us, and all the best even in your church at Utawala. May God prosper you. Thank you so much for keeping it track mind. My name is Jayden Steve. See you next time.